So may I open the house for question and answer session and further discussion. Yes. Yes. Any question from the participants? आप घबराइए नहीं, चूंकि ज्यादातर लोग जो है वो हिंदी स्पीकिंग के हैं, तो आप हिंदी में भी अपना क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं. There is no issue. Yes, Ms. Sahgal.
Mr. Singh, can I add few words? Just a little bit. I'll not take much time. So,
yes, please.
Yeah. I'll just talk very precisely. All of you have said very right things, and they were practical because आपने भी serve किया, गोयल साहब ने भी serve किया, and Mr. Ahmed is a pioneer in the reformation. But still, I'll say that a conclusion was from the Dr. Ish Kumar. But we still say that all of us are repeating same things. But that till date, government has not listened to us. So lack of staff, lack of promotion policies, disparities in the pay, lack of infrastructure, but still the prisons are existing and doing well. So my question, I think I'm audible. So
yes, you are.
I'll just request Mr. Ahmed, as for the overcrowding, he said the alternate to the prisons. So I think.
प्लीज बाकी अनम्यूट कर दीजिएगा. जब आप क्वेश्चन पूछे तभी अपने आप को म्यूट करिए, अनम्यूट करिएगा. आवाज आ रही है?
So Ahmed said, why not to come up with a concrete policy on the alternate to the prison and submit it to the government? Because overcrowding सब face कर रहे हैं, even judicial committees which are visiting the jails, हर समय ये कहते हैं ये facility दो, their rights are infringed. But the thing, they are the person who send them to the judicial custody. Why not? So little bit of burden should be shared by them also. So they should also work on the alternative prison.
Thanks, Rajani. We have understood your question. May I request Dr. Ahmed to please respond?
Now the whole question is, who will bell the cat?
Yes, वही तो है, घंटी बजानी है ना.
Now the question is, we have been identifying and we have identified all the ills that plague the prison services in our country. Now, that is where I feel that the one solution lies in setting up a prison commission, National Prison Commission, headed by perhaps a retired retired Supreme Court judge. And because it is the courts which have been helping us all along. We have achieved, but all these solutions, they're not within the purview of state governments. But wherever state governments have decided, they are really formed. See, for example, the kind of reforms that were brought by the southern states were not there in northern states. So there is something to learn, and there are good practices already. But I think you rightly pointed out by you, who will bell the cat?
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Now, Dr. Anshul Garg may ask his question, please.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. My question is directed to Dr. Sir Sumesh Goyal, sir, and also to Dr. Ish Kumar, sir. Sir, यही मेरा कहना था कि सर prison reforms अगर होते हैं, better conditions होती तो biggest beneficiaries शायद prisoners होंगे. Prisoners का ही फायदा होना है, society का indirect फायदा होगा. तो सर जब तक वो prisoners association नहीं होगा तो या कोई और ऐसा तरीका हो सकता है क्या कि जिससे prisoners come up as a single platform to force governments to do this?
Thank you, Anshul. Sumesh Goyal ji is not present. May I request Dr. Ish Kumar to please respond to his question?
बात तो डॉक्टर अंशुल बिल्कुल सही बोल रहे हैं. KP, there is a lot of background disturbance.
Please, बाकी unmute कर दें अपने आप को. बाकी म्यूट कर दे, सॉरी, अपने आप को. बैकग्राउंड में आवाज आ रही है. पार्टिसिपेंट से रिक्वेस्ट है कि अपने आप को म्यूट कर दें. जो क्वेश्चन पूछे सिर्फ वही अनम्यूट रहे. यस
अंशुल, तो आपने जो बात कही बिल्कुल सही कही. इसमें एक रोड मैप बनाने की जरूरत है. and maybe central governments and the state governments have to come through. People have to recognize the importance of the prison department. And the prison leadership also has to go ahead and maybe coordinate with the state governments and do better. It's a long drawn battle, but I think all of us has to fight it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ish Kumar. Yes, next question, please. Yes. Next question from the participants.
I think from the head office, somebody's raised their hand, at least in the chat. I'm not sure which.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes,
good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Sir, my question is this, that being a deputy jailer, we do have limited power. What would be the one advice you will like to give that with the limited power, we need to implement those policies as a new joinee as a deputy jailer, what we can do? Second thing, sir, as I am working in a very small jail, that is Mainpuri. So NGOs are not coming here and they are also directing towards the Noida or the Ghaziabad jails. So why, what can we do in this regards to, sir? These two questions, sir, with I would like to ask, sir.
You are Mr. Pawan Kumar Trivedi.
Sir,
yes,
sir,
please
jailer,
identify
sir,
yourself.
Sir.
You are Pawan Kumar Trivedi.
Yes, yes, sir.
Sir, jailer, sir, is Pawan Kumar Trivedi, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm deputy jailer Mohit Kumar.
Good. Dr. Ahmed, will you please like to respond? Yes, Dr. Ahmed, I think he is not available. Dr. Ish Kumar, you may like to respond, please?
I mean, NGOs not coming. The only thing is prison headquarters has to make a list of all the willing NGOs and then maybe distribute the areas or jails. And I know it can be difficult. Most of the NGOs are capital centric, but I'm sure if you make attempt, you'll be able to find. And the second question, what you can do, let me tell you that all the great changes in the world have been brought by the individuals, be it Einstein, be it Newton. So if you really try and look at your work profile, you will definitely find ways and means. Jahan chaha, wahan raha. So you can do it, dear. You are a youngster. Go ahead.
So thank you, Dr. Ish. The next question is from Ms. Meenakshi Das, and she has put that question on the chat box. She is asking, how far release of prisoners on good behavior is for the greater good? Will it not encourage criminals that they can get away with crime if they behave in certain way after committing the crime?
So you respond to that.
Yes, I will respond to it. Ms. Meenakshi, let me tell you that release or premature release is not an absolute right. It is a right which is subject to good conduct inside prisons, good discipline inside prisons, and the prison authorities will see whether he has reformed or not. It is not an absolute right. There is a committee which consider all these aspects and then decide whether to release him or not to release him. This is one aspect. Second aspect is, what is the purpose of incarceration? In modern world, especially in the 20th century and 21st century, the correctional philosophy is that incarceration is for correction and not for punishment, because incarceration itself is punishment. So our purpose is only to help the prisoner reform, rediscover his personality. And this premature release is a process by which we help the prisoner to become a useful members of the society. And if a prisoner has not reformed, he is not behaving well, then he does not get a right, legal right. His case will be considered and rejected. So I think that your apprehension is genuine. As a public man, the question should come to your mind. But the answer is that only those prisoners or those criminals will be released who have served a long sentence and have shown or indicated that they have reformed. I hope I have answered your question.
KP, can I say something here?
Yes, please, please add, please add.
Don't you think that the provisions of the premature release are getting misused based on the political compulsions or likings?
Dr. Ish, that has always been there, but still there is judiciary to have a review of it. And the case which you have in your mind, it is already under scrutiny with the Supreme Court.
सर एक चीज और बता दीजिए उनको।
Yes, Mr. Pandey, PN Pandey, please ask your question. Please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
सर मेरी लंबी सेवा लगभग 26 साल की है और अल्टरनेटिव डिटेंशन और सीआरपीसी में अमेंडमेंट आईपीसी में अकॉर्डिंगली इसके करने के लिए कई बार ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर लोगों की तरफ से भी आया कि हम अमेंड कर रहे हैं, लेकिन ये अल्टरनेटिव पनिशमेंट की बात जो हो रही है वो कभी सर इसको प्रपोज नहीं किया गया। और आंध्रा का जैसे केस हम लोग देख रहे हैं, वो भी 20 साल से प्रोबेशन वो कस्टोडियल सर्विस कम्युनिटी सर्विस के लिए वो इस पे पेंडिंग है। तो ये जो अपैथी है सर जेल डिपार्टमेंट के लिए या रिफॉर्मेशन के लिए, ये बहुत चिंताजनक है। और इस पे आप जैसे लोग जो फोरम पे इतने बड़े उस पे है, इसको सर रेज करने की आवश्यकता है। मेरा ये सजेशन है सर कि इसको इस अपैथी को दूर किया जाए सर।
Your suggestion is very good, and let me inform you, the committee which was formed by MHA to suggest reform in IPC, CRPC and Indian Evidence Act, I was a consultant with that committee, and your concern has been addressed in the recommendations of that committee.
Okay, thanks.
Those recommendations are under consideration with the Ministry of Home Affairs, and they have constituted another committee to have discussions over those suggestions. And alternative to imprisonment, let me tell Professor Ahmed and Dr. Ahmed and you, as well as the other participant, a full chapter on community service has been proposed, as well as the requirement of release of criminals on probation has also been engraved in that in those recommendations.
That's quite heartening, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I cannot reveal all those things because it is not public yet, but okay. I can only say that those issues or those concerns have been addressed in the recommendations of that committee.
Thanks, sir.
Yes.
KP, again, one thing I would like to say,
sir,
these recommendations on alternative punishments, including community services, are fine. But as Sumesh ji was saying, you need to build in SOPs and infrastructure as well as monitoring mechanisms for those alternative punishments.
I totally agree. Yes, Dr. Ahmed, please, will you like to respond?
I too have some questions.
Please.
Now, not all issues relate to central government. We have a tendency to throw these issues to the central government. But what prevents state governments to attend to certain important issues like staff welfare, staff promotions, and then their exposure and training programs? What prevents state governments in not bringing certain reforms within their own jurisdiction, within their own domain? And we have excellent, brilliant DGs who have held the department and who have helped the present department to achieve so many things. But there are so many issues within the domain of state governments. Why are they not taking up? And how do we make them take up those issues?
Your question is directed to?
Directed to all the panel members.
May I request Dr. Yesh Kumar to please respond?
Yeah.
Dr. Ahmed, there are no easy answers to this. The only thing which I can say is that maybe the retired prison officers who retired at the various levels, including like you or the people who have retired at DIG, IG, they should create forums like IPF or with the separate forms, do a policy advocacy with the government. Maybe they can even go and file PIL with the Supreme Court, as Mr. Prakash Singh did for bringing in the police reforms. This could be one way of doing it. Secondly, I do not know whether there are some associations within the prison department and whether the rules permit that, but at least positively and constructively, if the associations can work for the welfare of the prison staff, that can be another good idea.
I think, I mean, you have rightly suggested, and let's hope something can come out of it.
Yes. Any other question from the participant? Until you have one thing. No, you have asked your question. Any other participant?
Not my question, एक चीज ऐड करूंगी, हम सब शेर मिलके बिल्ली को जगा ही लेंगे सर. लगता वही है।
No, no,
बिल्ली को
Anshul,
जगाएंगे।
no. Anshul, disciplined. You have asked your question. You will not take second question from anybody.
No,
Yes,
I'm not
any of the
asking. I'm
participants.
just on a lighter mode. I'm adding it.
If there is no further question, one question is there on the chat box. I'm reading it, and it is Jail Inspectorate. I do not know, from Jharkhand headquarters. They were trying to enter into the discussions also at one point of time. So the question is, work related with premature release should not be duty of prison department. It should be recommended by the sentencing of successor court. Successor court. Because in case of release or not release, jail officials are held guilty in many cases, but it is released by State Sentence Review Board. Is Mr. Kamaljeet Singh, Jharkhand headquarter. Let me answer in Hindi. He may understand Hindi better. Kamaljeet Singh ji, प्रिजन ऑफिसर्स को कोई रेस्पॉन्सिबल नहीं ठहराएगा. उनकी ड्यूटी यही है जेल मैनुअल के मुताबिक कि जैसे ही 14 साल पूरे होते हैं, केस गवर्नमेंट के पास भेजे, सेंटेंस रिव्यू बोर्ड के पास. उसके बाद जेल अधिकारियों की रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं होती है. अधिकारी उसके लिए जिम्मेदार नहीं है कि किसी को छोड़ा गया या नहीं छोड़ा गया. अधिकारी तभी जिम्मेदार माने जाते हैं जब आप किसी का केस 14 साल पूरा होने के बाद अपने पास पेंडिंग रखते हैं और नहीं भेजते.
केपी, आई थिंक व्हाट ही इज सेइंग इज कि ये रिस्पांसिबिलिटी जो है जेल स्टाफ की जगह कोर्ट को दे दी जाए.
नहीं, कोर्ट को इसलिए नहीं दी जा सकती. मैंने शुरू में ही आपको अपने प्रेजेंटेशन में भी बताया था कि जैसे ही कोर्ट ने सेंटेंस दे दिया, कोर्ट की ड्यूटी खत्म है. वो सेंटेंस कैसे पास किया जाएगा, कैसे सर्व किया जाएगा, वो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की है और प्रिजन डिपार्टमेंट स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को रिप्रेजेंट करता है. वो हर एक चीज हम कोर्ट के हवाले नहीं कर सकते. अगर कोर्ट के हवाले वो कर दिया तो उसकी जुडिशियल स्क्रूटनी कौन करेगा फिर? तो कोर्ट को तो सिर्फ जुडिशियल स्क्रूटनी के लिए ही रखा जाना चाहिए. यस,
but the sentence review board can have a judicial member as one of the members, like what we have in southern states.
वो ऑलरेडी है डॉक्टर अहमद. लीगल रिमेम्बरेंस या लॉ सेक्रेटरी ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट जो है वो उसका परमानेंट मेंबर है सेंटेंस रिव्यू बोर्ड का. Another question which I am seeing, and that will be the last question I am seeing on the screen is, sorry sir, it happened here with jail superintendent Mr. Praveen Kumar, who is retired now. No.
Want to ask a question?
नरसिंहपुर, हाँ जी, यहाँ से
one by one please.
जय. हाँ, हमेशा आप लोगों को सुनना बहुत अच्छा रहता है. डॉक्टर अहमद सर, उपनीत मैडम, विजय राघवन सर, ईश कुमार सर, सभी आप लोगों ने बहुत ही अच्छा बोला. निश्चित रूप से जेल के विभिन्न विषयों पर आपने छुआ. मेरा सर एक क्वेश्चन है, यद्यपि वो विषय से थोड़ा भिन्न है, लेकिन हम सभी जानते हैं कि जेल को कभी भी प्रायोरिटी नहीं मिलती. उसका कारण है कि वोटिंग राइट्स नहीं है. मैं ये जानना चाहती हूँ कि क्या हिंदुस्तान के किसी भी स्टेट में अंडर ट्रायल प्रिजनर्स को कभी वोटिंग राइट एक्सरसाइज करने का अवसर मिला है? जब वो चुनाव लड़ सकते हैं तो वोट क्यों नहीं डाल सकते? और क्या इसके लिए कभी किसी स्टेट ने PIL फाइल किया है या कभी किसी स्टेट ने इनिशिएट किया है? क्योंकि तभी हम पॉलिटिशियंस और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को आकर्षित कर सकते हैं कि वो हमारे लिए कुछ करें. पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट के लिए तो बहुत वेलफेयर है, लेकिन प्रिजन के लिए कुछ भी नहीं है. दैट इज ट्रू. और ये हम सब लोग पीड़ितों में शामिल है कि जिनके लिए कुछ भी बहुत अच्छा नहीं किया गया है. तो ये मेरा क्वेश्चन.
Thank you very much. Please identify yourself. आपने अपना नाम और अपनी प्लेस ऑफ पोस्टिंग नहीं बताया.
Sir, I am शेफाली तिवारी, Superintendent Central Prison, नरसिंहपुर, मध्य प्रदेश.
Good. Dr. Lali has done a lot of work on voting right of prisoners. Will you please like to respond?
शेफाली, ये मुद्दा काफी बारी उठा है और इसमें अमेंडमेंट भी चाहिए. आपके जो लॉ की है उसकी चाहिए. और आप बिल्कुल सही बोला. तो ये वेस्ट बंगाल ने भी मेरे ख्याल ये मुद्दा उठाया था कि they wanted to have voting rights, but it wasn't allowed because you have the under the act. तो जो prisoners हैं, जो unconvicted हैं, they can contest elections, but there is no right to vote as such. Pressure group बन सकता है कि yes, you can file for a review and you can ask for an amendment in the law that under trials should also be given the right to vote. कई countries में है ये right to vote, यहाँ पर हमारे नहीं है this right to vote.
So thank you, Dr. Lali. Here comes the end of the open house session. May I now request Dr. Upneet Lali to present a summary of the discussions and propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. KP Singh. It's been a very, very engaging online session. Normally, इतना engaging नहीं होता online forums पर यही interest है आपका. ये prison officers के लिए मेरा ख्याल से ये एक नब जो है ना pulse catch कर लेते हैं कि prison reforms की बात होती रहती है. So we've had 6 speakers speak on various themes. I'll first summarize and then give my vote of thanks. We started off with Shri Ramachandran from the Indian Police Foundation talking about the continued consultation and communication. So I think यहाँ पर नहीं खत्म होना चाहिए. This should continue, whatever recommendations that have emerged from this. And with a message from Shri Gurbachan Jagat about incorporating the victimology and social reintegration issues. And I think that's where, when we're talking about alternatives, we can talk about restorative justice also. We had Dr. Ahmed point out to sentence planning, risk need assessment, and proper classification of prisoners. Spoke about no uniformity that exists in practices and in all India prison service, and also alternatives at the 3 stages: pre-trial, at the sentence stage, and at the post-sentence stage. We had Shri Somesh Goyal, who spoke about infrastructure being very important, and also how to convert prisons into places where you engage and work with prison inmates, and the importance of financial independence and work programs, and opening up the prisons and bringing society inside the prisons, and the importance of open prisons and a multidisciplinary and multi-team work, which is departmental work, which is essential. And he also raised an important question in terms of whose responsibility is prisoner reintegration? Is it only the prison department or the other departments? And I wish we had someone from the social welfare department also being a part of this colloquium. Of course, I spoke on mental health issues and the importance of mental health, both for inmates as well as staff, and both training and improved prison environment. We had Professor Vijay Raghavan speak about role of NGOs and trained social workers and the different areas, in terms of identification for legal aid issues, and also in terms of access to services, the different schemes of the government that exist. And he also suggested a few measures in which how prison departments can have mechanisms for association of NGOs with due diligence being made. Dr. KP Singh spoke about the uniformity in the premature release schemes and policies, and a time-bound way in which the cases mercy petitions particularly are dealt with, and a uniform premature release formula, and the scale of permission. And of course, a lot of these are under the review of the Supreme Court, but yes, we do need to have certain uniformity. Otherwise, it leads to that different persons sentenced under IPC, but different states, different rules as such. And of course, we have Dr. Ishkumar towards the end, who spoke about for the prison staff in terms of what his study on the training needs analysis has found out a gap between that exists in the training needs in terms of knowledge, attitude, and skills, the competency that needs to be built up, not just in terms of measures related to assessments, but also human rights issues that prison staff and various areas where they've pointed out that they need training on, and also policy related issues related to particularly the pay parity that should be there. And also significantly that when we talk about staff inadequacy, we also need to consider the prison staff, the prison strength, not just in terms of what is the authorized capacity, but in terms of the actuals also, and the gaps that exist. Currently, most states have a dearth of prison staff. And also in terms of building up this journey of prison reforms, which is a challenging task as such. And one way out that he suggested is, of course, an association that can work in this regard. And significantly, of course, advocacy of prison reforms on various forums, that's going to be essential so that these voices are not just discussed within the limited confines of prison, just the prison department and prison officers, but outside and beyond. And of course, a lot of staff have raised issues, and I think they all look towards hope in terms of a better system. And yes, because we keep repeating the same things again and again, and ever since Mullah Committee, the same recommendations, and we've been talking about, overcrowding and prison reforms, etc. But nothing seems to change, but a lot has changed also. So I guess we should end with hope that yes, we can all be part, of course, like one of the deputy jailers asked about what we can do. So maybe in our own ways, we can work to improve and also look at creative solutions. If we're talking about alternatives, yes, there has to be a pressure group in terms, and of course, hopefully there will be something that emerges out. But a proper roadmap is going to be essential to build up these prison reforms. And of course, there are structural issues. There are issues which do not involve much of finances. There are issues which involve finance. So there are various aspects of prison reforms, and this online colloquium did provide a platform to enable some of those voices to be heard and some different perspectives to be known. And on behalf of the Institute of Correctional Administration and the Indian Police Foundation, I thank all the speakers who shared their knowledge and wisdom, and I thank all the officers who have participated in this colloquium. Officers from different states, and both serving and retired, and different persons who have been here out, participating and listening intently and engaging very constructively in this dialogue, I would say. And I hope that we continue with this dialogue and this onward journey of prison reforms. We have certain torchbearers out here. We have both, and I'm sure like people would be definitely noted. Shefali is one lady who is definitely bringing about changes in her own system in her own small way. So we need to keep encouraging the good practices also. And we need to also engage with the persons of experience like Dr. Ahmed and Dr. KP Singh, Rajni, all of you, because this is not going to be a one-person's journey. It's going to be a collective wisdom and I guess a collective force. Nothing can stop a collective force from working. So thank you so much, all of you, for being a part of this colloquium. It's been wonderful to see the enthusiasm and to see all of you so very actively participating in this colloquium. And I thank once again Shri Ramakrishna Chandranji for visualizing this and bringing this together. Thank you so much. And I hope that the Indian Police Foundation also continues, and the Institute also will continue with this engaging in this process of prison reforms, on which we've spoken a lot has been said, a lot needs to be done, and a lot more needs to be also debated about in the public domain as well. And this, I'm sure, it's going to be on the YouTube or other social forums, so I'm sure it's going to be picked up by the others, and definitely we need to engage with the media on this, I would say. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Upneet. There can be no better words and note to conclude this colloquium. With the permission of the President, Indian Police Foundation, Sri N. Ramachandran, may I now request all the participants to say goodbye to this colloquium and goodbye to each other. Thank you very much.